Welcome to Good Samaritan Spotlight. I'll be your host today, Adam Thacker, President, Chief Administrative Officer. Really excited to talk about our topic today, spirituality in medicine, and really talking about spirituality and how that intersects with the medical care that we provide. So, thrilled to be joined with Trevor Murray, our Director of Pastoral Care. And so, talk a little bit about what your role is here at Good Samaritan, what you do on a daily basis.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, by the way, and good to be here. And so I've been here for 10 years. Back in March, celebrated my 10th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So basically, my job is to listen to people. And I know that's a pretty vague thing, but for chaplaincy, everything begins with listening. And typically, I think people think chaplaincy is spiritual care, but it can also be, it could be mental health, it could be emotional health, it could be a lot of different things. And as opposed to like the relationship that a pastor has with the members of his or her church, I don't have the luxury of often knowing the person whenever I walk into a room. So my job is to walk in, introduce myself, who I am, and then apologize. Because oftentimes when people hear that I'm the chaplain, I have actually heard people say, "So what have they not told me?" Right?
Sure.
So there's some misconceptions about what a chaplain is there for. So after I introduce myself, I immediately say, "Please don't be alarmed." And I'll say, "I'm just making rounds. I'm visiting. I am just here to offer a prayer and to listen. Also, if you don't want me here, I'm happy to leave, and give them that option. Because really, I don't have the luxury of an ongoing or a pre-existing relationship with the patient whenever I walk into the room, typically. So begins with listening and finding out what's going on with them, asking them how they're feeling. If it leads to discussion about deeper subjects, they're going to be the ones that bring that up. But I'm also happy to just simply say, "Would you like me to pray with you today?" And that sometimes can lead to a deeper discussion, and maybe not. But to me, my primary job is to listen to see what sort of needs need to be met. And sometimes that means, leading to consultation with other members of our team about things that I can't help with, but may not even be known to their care team that may have arisen from our discussion as well.
Right. Well, and I think that's so great that you lead with listening. And really, we talked a little bit offline about meeting patients where they are, mm-hmm. and how do we balance the spirituality side of care and healing. Mm-hmm. And there's a ton of data that shows that healing improves when there's good medicine and good spirituality. Mm-hmm. But the other thing that you didn't mention, and I think is equally important, is it's not about a specific religious belief.
Correct.
Or direction. So maybe talk a little bit about as the pastoral care services at Good Samaritan and how what you're providing from spiritual services and support are not necessarily religion or religious specific.
Sure. So often when I go in, even after I say that I'm the chaplain here, they'll say, "What church are you from?"
Right.
And I'll say, "Well, I'm not representing a church. I'm on behalf of the hospital to provide spiritual care across the board, regardless of denomination." And but then they'll often say, "Okay, but what church do you go to?" Sure. They still want to know, like,
hard to get past
what are we
that,
dealing with
right.
here? Like, what do we, which is totally fair. But I make sure that they know that it doesn't matter whether they belong to a church or not. And that is, something that I think where we find ourselves now is that there are many people who don't belong to a church, but still need support. And one of the questions that I often ask, not to pry into their spiritual life, but to find out what kind of spiritual support they already have. Because if they already have this relationship with a church or with some sort of spirituality, I want to connect them with the resources that they already have. In particular, with hospice care, which is a big part of my job too, is making sure that they have the support that they are already familiar with first. And then if they don't have that, then doing my best to pay attention to whatever needs there are there to provide that in my own way.
And you mentioned hospice care, and that's where I was going to go next, is just really looking at this holistically. I think there also, when we talk about this, I'm sure there's times you walk in and everybody views that as, okay, this is the end and it's grieving time, but you're visiting with patients across the continuum of care. They could be healing from an elective surgery and they're perfectly healthy, but still offering those services.
Right. And it might even be somebody just had a baby,
right?
And you're there to kind of celebrate
other end
with
of the
them
spectrum,
and congratulate them. When I've told this story many times. When I first came to Good Sam and was going through all the lab work and everything that's required for employment, the person who checked me in patient access asked who I was, and I said, well, I've been hired to be the new chaplain here. And she said, well, welcome aboard. She goes, I hope I never see you. and I said, look, I'm not the angel of death. I'm really not. That is such a small part of what the job entails. And the other thing that I think a lot of times people don't realize, you're not only here for patients and family, but here for staff as well. We've had so many instances where like an entire department is grieving the loss of an employee, or I find out that an employee has had a personal trauma that we just want to check on employees and see how they're doing. And I think the thing that is a real strength of chaplaincy is that, especially for patients, most of the people, the team members who come into that room have a million other things to do, and other patients that they need to get to see. They're in there for a specific reason, to find a specific part of the care, and then they're on to the next patient. And the thing that I try to convey to them is that I'm there simply for them, and I don't have any other job but to simply sit and listen. And there are times when even a patient can't communicate, and I might say a prayer and then just hold their hand for a while and just sit there with no response back. And again, the thing that I was taught in chaplain training is that we are trained to be a non-anxious presence. And even if it's nothing more than that, just to convey that the person is not alone in their suffering, and that you are there to simply walk with them in this journey, and to convey that. Sometimes if a person's not conscious or not responding in ways that we would traditionally associate with connecting with people, then just simply holding someone's hand or just being there with someone in silence can be an enormously helpful healing presence.
Right. Well, and as you mentioned, in some of those times, you're there for more than the patient. You're there for the family that's in the room. You're there for the staff. Mm-hmm. And I can say, you said you've been here 10 years. I've been here 12 years, so we worked together for a decade. Mm-hmm. And there are people that are just made to do what they do and really appreciate what you do, because you bring that calm approach. You very frequently can get called into some difficult situations. As you mentioned, maybe we've had an employee death and a department is reeling. So while I know a lot of this discussion is about the services that we provide to the community, but what you provide to the healthcare team is extremely important, as we have a tendency to become task-oriented and take those things in stride, and then grief hits later, or trauma situations where we're taking care of very difficult situations. You coming in to just be that voice to talk to folks, or the ear to listen, is we're extremely appreciative of those services.
Well, another thing that I'm a part of that I don't know if people are aware of, and we're trying to build awareness of it, is the critical incident stress debriefing team. I'm the head of it, one of the heads of it, let's put it that way. And it's called GRIT, Gaining Resilience in Trauma. And it's in particular as a group of our family here at Good Sam has been trained to debrief people in the case of a traumatic incident or a traumatic event of some sort, just to simply give them information about what traumatic responses look like physiologically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and just to normalize the reactions that people have in response to trauma, and to help give them the tools they need to be resilient through that, and to heal through it together. Again, I can thank Good Sam for the training that I received in order to do that, and it's become so helpful, especially for our staff here, in particular ER and EMS, that experience these things with some regularity. They certainly need that support and reminder. What they are experiencing is not normal. What they see and have been through is not normal. Their response to it is normal, and that's important for them to hear.
Extremely important. Being in the healthcare workforce, those things take a toll, and we tend to lean towards we need to shrug this off and bury it and normalize it, rather than deal with it,
Right.
because eventually it will
Catches up
to us. Anything else that you'd like to cover, either with the pastoral care services at Good Samaritan, or broader picture with just the spirituality discussion in healthcare?
I would give a shout out to my team, because I'm not the only chaplain.
You're not here 24/7, 365.
No, I can't. Although for many a
Might feel
year,
like it.
I was the only person that did that, and so conferring with my colleagues at Deaconess and some of the other chaplains in the area, just said, I need some help. I'm going to lose my mind if I'm always on call all the time. So we were able to. We now have 3 PRN chaplains as well that provide weekend coverage for me 3 weekends out of the month, which I'm so grateful for. And they also cover whenever I'm gone. So shout out to Seth Alexander, Marcia Bishop, and newly hired Anton Howard for their assistance in taking care of not only our patients and their families, but also our staff as well. When care is needed, I can leave with peace in my soul that things are well taken care of in my absence. So that's really helpful.
And we all need to be able to step away and have that mental and physical reprieve. So
Absolutely.
very happy to hear that we have given you that break.
Yes.
I would appreciate if you were just here all day and all night, but that's not always possible.
I would be pretty bad at it if that were the case. I would just be angry all the time.
Yep. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing and the discussion. I think it is an often missed piece of healthcare, and really gets back to what our mission is to make people healthier. And the healing process, and it's not just about a pill or procedure, and we're world class at the medicine side. So your team helping us be world class at the spiritual side really sets us up to get patients healthier.
Happy to be a part of it.
So thank you.
You are welcome.
All right, and that concludes our Good Samaritan Spotlight. Thank you.